By the time the bread basket reached Claire Whitmore, there was only one roll left. That was how her family worked. Nothing loud. Nothing obvious. Nothing anyone could point to and say, "There, that was cruelty." Her mother had set the Sunday table with the same cream napkins, the same good china, the same dried flowers in the center. Her father carved the roast slowly, like every slice needed his full attention. Her sister Danielle arrived late, smiling at her phone, and still somehow became the warmest thing in the room. Claire had driven 40 minutes after leaving work early. She had brought wine she could barely afford to open in that house. She had brought the lemon tart her mother had mentioned once, 3 weeks ago, while talking about something else. No one asked about it. The tart stayed in its white box on the sideboard while Danielle told a story about a client lunch, and their mother laughed as if every word was a gift. Claire sat with her hands folded beside her plate. She had learned long ago that if she reached too far in that house, someone would remind her where she belonged. So, her mother said, smoothing her napkin across her lap, "We should talk about Callaway." The table changed, just slightly. Claire looked up. Callaway & Reed was the marketing firm where she had worked for 4 years. Danielle had joined 18 months ago after their mother mentioned her name to the managing partner's wife at a garden club brunch. 3 weeks earlier, Callaway had announced a promotion. Senior Account Director. Claire had built 3 of the firm's strongest client relationships. She had repaired accounts other people had nearly lost. She had stayed late, cleaned up quiet disasters, and watched her ideas come back to her in someone else's meeting deck with another person's name on the front. Danielle got the promotion. Claire had already made peace with that, or at least she had folded the pain into a shape small enough to carry. Her mother picked up the bread basket and handed it to Claire's father first. "We're very proud of Danielle," she said. "She worked so hard for this." Danielle smiled down at her plate. "She did," Claire said. She meant it as neutral. In that house, neutral was the safest language she had. Her father nodded. "Clients like her. That matters." Claire reached for her water glass. Her mother watched the movement. "You're not upset, are you?" There it was. The small trap. If Claire said yes, she was jealous. If she said no, they could keep speaking as if her feelings had never existed. "I'm fine," Claire said. Her mother's mouth softened, but her eyes did not. "Good. Because your father and I talked about it, and we think the company made the right decision." The knife went in quietly. Claire set down her glass. Her father kept cutting meat that no one had asked for. "Danielle is a people person," her mother continued. "She has warmth. She connects right away. That matters in leadership." Danielle's fork paused, then moved again. Claire looked at her sister. For 1 second, she thought Danielle might say something. Not a defense. Not even an apology. Just one sentence that admitted the room was not as fair as everyone was pretending. But Danielle kept her eyes on her plate. Claire's mother leaned back. "You were always the slow one, Claire," she said gently. "Not in a bad way. Just more internal. More in your head. Danielle moves faster with people." Her father gave a small nod. "Your mother isn't wrong." The room did not explode. That was the cruel part. The roast stayed warm. The silverware stayed clean. Her mother's voice stayed kind. Danielle stayed quiet. Her father did not look at Claire long enough to see what the sentence had done. Claire heard the refrigerator hum from the kitchen. She heard her own breath, steady only because she forced it to be. She had been 9 years old the first time she understood she was the child they had to explain, while Danielle was the child they celebrated. Danielle was bright. Danielle was easy. Danielle made adults lean closer. Claire was careful. Claire was quiet. Claire noticed when bills were late, when her mother cried in the laundry room, when her father's silence lasted longer than usual. She remembered birthdays. She brought the right dessert. She sent follow-up emails. She stayed after work. She carried things nobody gave her credit for carrying. And still, at that table, she was the slow one. Her mother passed the basket toward her at last. One roll sat inside. Claire looked at it, then at her mother. "I'm going to head home before dessert," she said. Her mother blinked, offended by the calm more than she would have been by anger. "But you brought the tart." "Yes," Claire said. "You can keep it." Danielle looked up then. "Claire." "It's all right," Claire said. And because she had spent years training herself not to break in front of them, she stood, thanked her mother for dinner, kissed her father on the cheek, and left before anyone could turn her pain into bad manners. Outside, the cold air hit her face. She sat in her car for a full minute with both hands on the wheel. Through the dining room window, she could see them moving back into shape. Her mother rising to clear plates. Her father reaching for the wine. Danielle saying something that made the room loosen again. Claire started the car. She drove home with the radio off. Her apartment was dark when she entered. She put the keys in the bowl by the door and the silence greeted her like something honest. The lemon tart had not come home with her. The wine was gone. The careful version of herself she had carried into that dinner felt gone too. She made tea and sat at the small kitchen table by the window. For a while, she did nothing. Then she opened her laptop. There was an email sitting in her inbox that she had not answered for 3 weeks. The sender was Marcus Webb. Claire had met Marcus 18 months earlier at a marketing leadership conference. He was not the kind of man who filled a room with noise. He listened, asked one clean question, and waited until people stopped performing confidence. After a panel, Claire had asked a question about why companies kept separating brand promises from operations, then acted surprised when customers noticed the gap. Marcus had found her afterward. "You asked the only useful question in that room," he said. That was the beginning. They stayed in touch. Not often. Not casually. Every few months, he asked what she was seeing in the market, what clients were worried about, what firms were pretending not to know. 6 months ago, he called with something different. Meridian Group, the company he led, was expanding its marketing operations division. They needed someone who understood client systems, team structure, brand repair, and the quiet places where companies leaked trust. The position was Regional Director of Marketing Operations. The salary was more than Claire had ever allowed herself to imagine. The authority was real. The team was large. The work was serious. It was not a title made pretty for business cards. It was a seat at the table where decisions were made before everyone else was told. Claire had not said yes. She told herself she was being careful. She told herself she needed stability. She told herself leaving Callaway now might look emotional after losing the promotion. But sitting in that apartment, with her mother's gentle voice still in her head, Claire saw the truth. She had not been waiting for clarity. She had been waiting for permission. From her family. From Callaway. From the same people who had looked at her work for years and called someone else gifted, Her tea went cold. She opened Marcus's email. The message was short. Claire, the offer remains open until Monday. I meant what I said. This division needs someone who sees the whole board, not just the loudest pieces on it. She read it twice. Then she placed her fingers on the keyboard and typed 4 words. Marcus, I'm in Monday. She did not add an explanation. She did not soften it. She did not ask if he was sure. 11 minutes later, his reply came. Monday works. Welcome to Meridian. Claire leaned back in the chair. For the first time all night, she breathed without fighting for it. On Monday morning, Claire walked into Callaway and read with her resignation printed on clean white paper. The managing partner looked genuinely surprised. You're leaving? He asked, as if he had not watched her get passed over and expected her to keep performing gratitude. I am, Claire said. Where are you going? A role that needs my full focus. His eyes narrowed, searching for more. Claire gave him nothing. By noon, the office knew. A few people stopped by her desk. Some were polite. Some were curious. Some looked nervous, as if her leaving confirmed something they had been afraid to say out loud. One junior associate stood beside her desk, twisting his badge between his fingers. You're the reason I didn't quit last year, he said. Claire looked up. He swallowed. You told me not to confuse a bad manager with a bad future. That sentence stayed with her longer than anything the partners said. Near the parking lot, Priya from Client Strategy caught up with her. Priya had seen more than most. She had watched Claire's proposals get renamed. She had watched Claire fix client calls that senior directors took credit for saving. She had never said much, because quiet people in offices knew what it cost to speak too soon. Now she hugged Claire hard. Wherever you're going, Priya whispered, they better know what they got. Claire smiled faintly. They do. That was all she said. She did not tell Danielle. She did not call her parents. She did not post an announcement. She did not dress her exit as revenge. She packed 2 framed certificates, a notebook full of client history, and a small plant from the corner of her desk. Then she left Callaway without looking back. Meridian's office was on the 14th floor of a building downtown, with glass walls, quiet elevators, and conference rooms where people spoke in numbers because the numbers actually mattered. On her second morning, Marcus introduced her to the division leadership team. Claire spent 4 years inside Callaway, he said. She knows their client base, their talent, and their weak points. That is why I wanted her here at the start of this transition, not after the damage was already done. Claire sat still. Across the video screen, one of Callaway's senior partners looked down at his notepad. He knew her. He had been in the room when Danielle's promotion was approved. He did not say a word. Marcus continued. As you know, Meridian has completed the controlling acquisition of Callaway and read through the holding structure we discussed last quarter. Integration begins immediately. The sentence landed cleanly. Claire had known the deal was coming. Marcus had explained it during their final interview, not as bait, but as context. Meridian had quietly purchased control of Callaway before the public announcement. The rushed promotions, closed-door meetings, and sudden partner exits were not random. They were the last movements of people trying to secure their place before the new structure arrived. That included Danielle's promotion. Claire looked at the org chart on the screen. Callaway and Reed now sat under Meridian's marketing operations division. Her division. A list of senior account directors appeared beneath the Callaway heading. Danielle Whitmore was one of them. Marcus clicked to the next slide. Claire will lead the review of client health, staffing structure, and leadership readiness across the acquired firm. No one reacted loudly. Power rarely needed noise. Claire wrote one note in the margin of her folder. Presco renewal. Danielle portfolio. Review first. She underlined it once. For 3 weeks, Claire read everything. Contracts. Revenue reports. Client complaints. Staff reviews. Exit notes from partners who had left before the acquisition became public. The files told a story no family dinner had ever wanted to hear. Callaway had been surviving on the work of people who were too tired to fight for credit. 3 top accounts were at risk. Junior staff had been unsupported. Managers had been promoted for charm while systems quietly cracked behind them. Danielle's portfolio was the clearest problem. Not because she was useless. That would have been easier. She had talent. She could read a room. Clients liked her. But she had been placed 2 steps above her experience, and now one of the firm's biggest accounts was close to walking away. Claire scheduled individual meetings with every senior account lead. Danielle's was set for Thursday at 2. The calendar invite went out under Claire's new title. Regional Director, Marketing Operations. At 1:58, a shadow stopped outside Claire's open office door. Danielle stood there with a folder pressed to her chest. Her face was composed, but not fast enough. For 1 second, the old family order cracked in her eyes. "Claire," she said. Claire gestured to the chair across from her desk. "Come in, Danielle." Danielle stepped inside slowly. On the desk between them sat the Presco file, a performance report, and the new reporting chart with Meridian's name at the top. Danielle looked down. Then she saw where her name sat. Under Claire's. Her fingers tightened around the folder. Claire did not smile. She did not explain. She did not offer comfort the moment did not deserve. She only slid the report across the desk and said, "We need to talk about your account." Danielle stared at the report like the paper had changed shape in front of her. For years, Claire had been the quiet sister at the table. The one who listened. The one who brought dessert and took the smallest space. Now Danielle was sitting across from her in a glass office, with Meridian's name on the folder and Claire's title under it. Regional Director. Danielle lowered herself into the chair. "I didn't know," she said. Claire opened her pen. "About what?" Danielle looked at the org chart again. "About Meridian. About you being here. About me reporting into your division." "I know." The answer was calm enough to make the room feel smaller. Danielle swallowed. "I didn't ask for the promotion over you." Claire looked at her then. Danielle had always been good at looking confident. Even when she was wrong, she could smile like the room still belonged to her. But now the smile was gone. Her voice had lost the soft shine she used at family dinners and client lunches. "I didn't campaign against you," Danielle added. "I want you to know that." Claire believed her. Danielle had not stolen the promotion with a secret plan. She had simply accepted what the world kept handing her. The bigger chair. The warmer greeting. The second chance. The benefit of the doubt. That did not make the damage disappear. "I'm not here to discuss how you got the role," Claire said. "I'm here to discuss whether you can keep the account." Danielle went still. Claire slid the Presco summary toward her. Their satisfaction score dropped 14 points. Their renewal is in 60 days. 2 decision makers have stopped joining monthly calls. Your last strategy memo missed 3 concerns they raised in writing. Danielle's face colored. I've been working on a recovery plan. I need to see it today. It isn't finished. Then send me what you have. Danielle looked down at the numbers, then back at Claire. Are you trying to make this hard for me? The old version of Claire might have softened. She might have made her voice gentler, just to prove she was not bitter. She might have carried Danielle's discomfort the way she had carried everyone else's. But Claire had left that version at the Sunday table. No, she said. I'm making it honest. Danielle's mouth closed. Claire leaned back slightly. You were promoted into a role with real consequences. Presco does not care who our mother thinks is better with people. They care whether we understand their business. If you want support, you'll get it. If you need training, you'll get it. If the portfolio needs to be adjusted, I'll adjust it. But the renewal cannot be treated like a competence exercise. Danielle looked away. That was the first time Claire had ever seen her sister with nowhere to hide. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Danielle said, quieter, Does Mom know? Claire capped her pen. No. Are you going to tell her? Claire glanced at the folder between them. I imagine she'll find out. Danielle gave a short, nervous breath. It was almost a laugh, but not quite. Before she left, she paused at the door. For what it's worth, she said, I always knew you were smarter than they acted. Claire held her gaze. That would have mattered more if you'd said it sooner. Danielle's eyes dropped. Then she nodded once and left. By 5 o'clock, the Presco file arrived in Claire's inbox. It was incomplete. Messy in places. Too polished in others. But buried under the weak language was something useful. Danielle understood the client's people better than anyone else on the team. She had noticed which executive went quiet after budget questions. She had noticed which manager kept asking about delivery timelines. She had noticed where trust was breaking, even if she did not yet know how to rebuild it. Claire marked the file with clean comments. Not cruel comments. Clear ones. Over the next 4 weeks, they worked late every Friday. There were no sisterly speeches. No family memories. No apology wrapped in coffee cups. Just documents, client notes, revised plans, and uncomfortable truth. Danielle learned to stop charming problems and start solving them. Claire learned that fairness did not mean carrying someone. It meant giving them a real standard and letting them rise or fall in front of it. Presco noticed. The renewal call happened on a Thursday morning. Claire sat at the head of the table. Danielle sat 2 seats down with her notes in front of her, her hands still but tight. The Presco director listened to the new plan without smiling. Then he closed the folder. This is the first time in months, he said, that I feel like Callaway understands why we were frustrated. Danielle did not rush to fill the silence. Claire saw the effort it took. The contract renewed 3 days later. 3 years. 22% above the previous rate. The email came in at 7:12 on a Monday morning. Claire read it once, then forwarded it to the integration committee with one line. Presco renewal secured. She copied Danielle. A minute later, Danielle replied. Thank you for pushing me. Claire stared at the message for a moment. Then she typed back. Keep improving. Nothing more. The call from her mother came that Saturday. Claire was at her kitchen table, coffee beside her laptop, reviewing the next phase of Callaway's staffing plan when her phone lit up. "Mom." She let it ring twice. Then she answered. "Good morning." Her mother's voice was careful. Too careful. "Claire, I heard something this week." Claire looked out the window. The street below was still quiet. "What did you hear?" A pause. "That you're working for Meridian. That Meridian bought Callaway. That you're in a senior position there." Claire said nothing. Her mother continued, but the words came slower now. "And that Danielle answers to your division." "That's accurate." The silence on the other end had weight. For the first time, Claire could hear her mother searching for the right tone and not finding one. "You didn't think to tell us?" "I've been busy." "Claire." There was a warning in the way she said it, but it was weaker than it used to be. Claire closed the laptop. "At dinner, you told me the company made the right decision. You told me Danielle had the gift. You said I was the slow one." Her mother took a breath. "I didn't mean it the way it sounded." "Yes, you did," Claire said. "You meant it gently." That was the problem. Another silence. Claire could almost see her mother in the old kitchen, standing with one hand on the counter, trying to manage a truth that would not stay small. "I accepted the Meridian offer that night," Claire said. "I had been holding it for weeks. I wasn't sure I was ready to leave something familiar. Then I sat at your table and listened to you explain my ceiling to me." Her mother's voice dropped. "You should have told us you had an offer like that." "What would you have said?" No answer. Claire did not rush to fill it. She had spent most of her life filling her mother's silences. Making them comfortable. Making them less guilty. Making them easier to leave behind. Not this time. "Would you have said congratulations?" Claire asked. "Or would you have told me not to get ahead of myself?" Her mother spoke softly. "That isn't fair." "Maybe not completely," Claire said. "But it is familiar." The line stayed open between them. Then her mother did what she had always done when truth came too close. She moved toward Danielle. "Your sister says the role is demanding." "It is. She says you're giving her a lot of responsibility. She is a senior account director. She also said you've been fair." Claire looked down at her hand resting near the coffee cup. "She said," her mother continued, "that you were more than fair." That landed differently. Claire waited. Her mother's voice was smaller when it came again. "She said she didn't understand how much you had been carrying at Callaway. How much work was yours. How much people had missed." Claire watched the city through the glass. For years, she had imagined her family finally understanding. In those old daydreams, the moment was bigger. Louder. Someone would stand in a room and name every wrong thing. Her mother would cry. Her father would be ashamed. Danielle would confess. The universe would rearrange itself in one clean motion. Real life was not that generous. Truth came through a phone line on a quiet Saturday, in a voice that still wanted to protect itself. "I didn't know," her mother said. Claire closed her eyes for 1 second. "Yes," she said. "You didn't. I thought I knew you." "No," Claire said. "You knew the version of me that made you comfortable." Her mother did not argue. That was the first real change. 2 weeks later, a card arrived in Claire's mailbox. Plain white envelope. Her mother's handwriting. No flowers on the front. No soft quote. No long excuse. Claire opened it by the kitchen window. I have been looking at you through the wrong lens for a long time. I do not fully understand what that cost you. I would like to. Claire read it twice. There was no perfect apology inside. No magic sentence that returned the years. But it was the first time her mother had written something that did not ask Claire to shrink around someone else's comfort. She set the card on the windowsill. She did not forgive everything. She did not throw it away. By the end of the quarter, Callaway looked different. Not perfect. Better. The loudest people were no longer automatically treated as leaders. Junior staff got clearer support. Client wins were tracked by actual contribution, not by who spoke last in the meeting. The managers who had hidden behind charm were forced to show their work. Some adjusted. Some left. That was the quiet part of consequence people rarely talk about. Karma did not always arrive as a slammed door. Sometimes it arrived as a spreadsheet no one could argue with. A performance review with clean numbers. A meeting where charm ran out of road. Danielle stayed. She struggled, then improved. She stopped pretending she had nothing to learn. She stopped letting praise do the work that preparation should have done. And little by little, she became more useful than the title that had once been handed to her. Claire did not punish her. That was not the point. The point was that, for once, the standard did not bend around Danielle. 6 months after Claire joined Meridian, she went to Sunday dinner again. She almost did not. The invitation sat in her messages for 3 days before she answered. Her mother wrote that it would be simple. Just family. Roast, vegetables, maybe dessert. Claire drove the same 40 minutes. But this time, she did not rehearse how to survive the evening. She arrived with wine, not as an offering, but because she wanted wine with dinner. The house looked the same. The dried flowers still sat in the center of the table. Her father still carved the roast. Danielle was already there, helping carry plates from the kitchen. For a moment, nobody knew what to do with the new shape of the room. Then her mother said, "Claire, sit here." It was the seat beside her, not the one near the hallway where Claire had always felt half excused. Claire sat. Dinner began quietly. Her father asked about Meridian. Not in a grand way. Not with perfect language. But he asked, and then he waited for the answer. Claire told him about the integration, about Presco, about the new leadership structure. She did not reduce the work to make it easier for him. She did not oversell it to make him sorry. She simply told the truth. Danielle added, "Claire saved that account." Claire looked at her. Danielle did not smile for approval. She just said it like a fact. Their mother's hand paused near her glass. Then the bread basket moved. Claire watched it without meaning to. Her father picked it up first. For a second, the old path seemed ready to repeat itself. Father to mother. Mother to Danielle. Danielle to Claire when almost nothing was left. But her mother reached out and stopped him. "Start with Claire," she said. The table went still. It was such a small thing that anyone else would have missed it. A basket. A roll. A changed direction. But Claire felt the weight of it more than any speech. Her father handed it to her. Claire took one piece of bread and passed the basket to Danielle. "Thank you," she said. Her mother looked down at her plate. I should have done that a long time ago, she said. No one moved. Claire could have made the moment larger. She could have forced the apology to become a confession. She could have listed every dinner, every skipped question, every soft insult, every time love had been measured out unevenly and called normal. Instead, she buttered her bread. Yes, Claire said. You should have. Her mother nodded. Danielle looked at the table. Her father cleared his throat, but this time he did not hide inside silence. We didn't see it, he said. Claire looked at him. I know. It doesn't make it right. No, Claire said. It doesn't. That was all. And somehow, it was more honest than any dramatic family reckoning she had ever imagined. A year later, Claire moved into a larger office at Meridian. Marcus had stepped into a group CEO role, and the board approved a restructure that placed Claire over the operations marketing division. Her title changed again. Senior Vice President. The first time she saw the new nameplate on her door, she thought of her mother's voice at that table. You were always the slow one. For years, Claire had heard that sentence as a verdict. Now it sounded different. She had been slow like a foundation is slow. Quiet while it is being built. Invisible while everyone admires the walls. Easy to ignore until the weight of the whole house depends on it. She had not risen because her family finally saw her. She rose because she stopped waiting for them to. Danielle no longer reported to Claire directly, but they had lunch once a month. Their conversations were not perfect. Sometimes they were awkward. Sometimes old habits moved between them like shadows. But Danielle was learning to stand on her own work, and Claire respected that more than easy charm. 2 months after the promotion, Claire invited her parents to her apartment for dinner. It was the first time they had seen where she lived. Her mother walked through the rooms carefully, touching nothing. She stopped at the window and looked out at the city lights. You've done well, she said. Claire poured the wine. There was a time when those words would have fed something hungry in her. A younger version of Claire might have held them close and tried to build a home inside them. But the hunger was gone now. Not because the words did not matter. Because they had arrived too late to decide anything. Claire handed her mother a glass. I know, she said. And she did. Some people will not see your worth while you are building it. They will call your patience weakness. They will mistake your quiet for emptiness. They will praise the loudest person in the room and overlook the one holding the room together. Let them. Work anyway. Grow anyway. Keep your records clean, your heart steady, and your hands open only to what deserves them. Because one day, the same people who passed you the last piece will realize you were never waiting for scraps. You were building the table.